All right. Well, Paul, do you want to give any
Sure, I can make
explanation of the
a
next
few
one? I think
comments.
it's self-explanatory, but a
Yeah.
lot of work gone into this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the next resolution is a resolution to approve of the 2026 tentative budget, which makes it the preliminary budget, which is subject to a public hearing, which is scheduled for October 16th. It's in pretty good shape. If you look at it, the tax rate plus the sewer rents, the average household goes up about 2.4%. Expenditures are up quite a bit, but that's due to employee compensation, benefits, and our debt service costs are on the rise. But if you look at it, the revenues are also up quite a bit. When you look at the sewer fund in particular, that's taken on a lot of debt. Over the past 3 years, principal and interest payments for the sewer fund have gone up about 2.5 million, but business-driven revenue is up 5 million. So they're actually 2.5 million ahead in the sewer department. So it's one of the interesting trends. And this budget uses quite a bit of fund balance, but we have that money put away, and it's supposed to be used to stabilize the tax rate, and that's what we're doing.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
I have a question, a couple questions, but I think Paul probably could answer these. First of all, could you tell me that our town budget, is it 51 million or 53 million?
It's I got it right here. The total budget is 53,272,000. That's somewhat deceptive because it includes $4.9 million of interfund transfers. So you really should net that out. So you're really looking at a budget of about 48.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's a
also
big
too,
number.
okay, thank you so much, Paul. And also too, how much is the total of our reserve fund for the town and the sewer? You know, the whole total, not just for one.
Overall,
Yes.
overall, well, I guess I don't have that in front of me, but I believe our total fund balances are around $30 million. Yeah, when you include all the reserves and the unappropriated money.
Thank you, Paul.
So that's what we're pulling from. When we say we're appropriating fund balance to balance the budget, that's the money we're pulling from.
Thank
And
you.
that's within our fund balance policy that we adopted, I think it was last year, correct?
We have a fund balance policy for the main operating funds. We try to keep the fund balance between 15% and 50% of annual expenditures. Some of the funds are over that substantially. So over a period of 4 or 5 years, we're trying to bring that back into the range.
Correct.
You don't want to do it all at once, but we've actually got like a 5 or 6 year plan to pull it into place.
That's excess money, so people at home know that we are essentially keeping our rate low, but we're not, it's taxpayer money that we're utilizing that was not spent.
Correct.
So it's responsible what we're doing with the reserve money, correct?
Right.
Or fund balance, I should say.
And I got to apologize because at the two budget workshops, July 31st and August 7th, we handed out to everybody in attendance and to the board members a one-page summary of the last 7 years, 2020 through 2026, an Excel, XY grid. And it showed the bottom line that the unrestricted fund balance at the end of 2020 in total was $16.8 million. At the end of 2024, our last completed year, it was $33.7 million. Our fund balance had essentially doubled since the end of 2020. And in that time frame, Paul coming from the Association of Towns meetings in New York City and with the comptroller, he proposed to the town that we have a fund balance policy to kind of put guide rails on how much money we keep in savings. And this board went through that process back circa 2022 and adopted that fund balance policy. And that is really why we're able to keep the taxes relatively low as a percentage increase, because we're using our fund balance policy. But as Paul said, some of the reason why the fund balance policy or fund balance is doubling is that, yeah, we've got this debt and we've got expenses like on the sewer, but we did that because we had Fairlife coming to town, and oh, geez, amazing enough, they got $5 million in revenue, and we actually net out $2 million ahead on that one. Well, that's going to affect what you have in your savings account to the positive. So I apologize. I should have printed that out and brought it to this meeting too. But any other questions?
No questions. I just think it's important that we start to manage down that number, because that's money we're taking from taxpayers and we are holding it on their behalf. And I'm sure some taxpayers would prefer to have that money as opposed to us holding it on their behalf. So using it in a productive way to get it back to within the fund balance tolerances would be important. But it's also important to have those funds to manage some unexpected expenses and things that happen within the town that are beyond our control. So it's a very delicate balancing act, and
balance.
Paul does a very good job at
He
managing
does,
it.
and
I agree.
And I will say something that the 3 union contracts in town, and as he said, so much of our spend is on personnel, retirees, benefits. We have 3 unions: police, blue collar, white collar. All 3 of those contracts expire at the end of 26. So this preliminary budget reflects what those contracts, cost of living adjustments and all that are. The new supervisor will be tasked with negotiating 3 contracts in the middle of 2026. I feel bad about that, just the way the timing slotted. But you want to talk about an unknown of what are those contracts going to end up being on January 1st, 2027, as far as cost of living adjustments, how much is going toward health insurance and all that. So you got to be careful about totally getting rid of all your savings, because that's a short-term feel-good move. And then all of a sudden you leave another board with the realities of inflation and this and that, and contracts that all of a sudden, you got to raise the taxes 30%.
Oh yeah, no one here would ever.
No.
I don't believe anybody here would ever propose using all of those funds.
So I make a motion to approve the 2026 Town of Webster tentative budget as presented by the town clerk for purposes of making it the 2026 Town of Webster preliminary budget, which will be subject to a public hearing, which will be on October 16th, prior to the adoption and vote on a final 2026 budget.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.